Hey, what's going on everybody? Andy Clements here with another episode of the Muscle Building Mastery Podcast, and today I want to let you know why I'm wearing these. Now, if you're watching the video, you can see that I'm wearing some weird orange style Elton John / Edgar Davids glasses, which is a bit weird, a bit kind of out of the ordinary. If you're watching the audio, obviously just imagine me wearing some weird orange glasses, right? But the reason I wanted to do this episode is to explain something that's really important as a principle for muscle building and for health in general, right? And that is all about sleep. So to give you a bit of a backstory about how I discovered how sleep was such an important principle and why I led myself to such an extent that I started wearing weird looking glasses like this that made me look like a freak, and was comfortable enough to actually do them, wear them on video, was you have to go back a few years now, so like maybe 5 or 6 years. I used to suffer with, like, from being a teenager to being in my early 20s, incredible insomnia. Like, I just could not sleep. Like, I would go through phases of being able to sleep okay, but it would always come back to not being able to sleep. And obviously periods of high stress, that was just like magnified by a million. But in general, over the years, I just really struggled with my sleep. And I used to try anything that I could think of to try and sort it out, right? I used to try ASMR videos. You've heard of ASMR videos. They're a bit weird, but they kind of help for a time and then they stop having an effect, right? I used to try hot baths. I used to try just working harder in the gym or going for runs or going for walks or anything like that. And I honestly, like, some of them had like little bits of effect, but nothing actually ever solved the problem of me not being able to sleep long term. And I can remember, honestly, I used to spend so many nights, like, just staring at the ceiling, like, wishing that I'd be able to sleep. And if you guys have ever suffered with insomnia, you'll know exactly what I mean when I talk about, like, how frustrating it is to just lie there staring at the ceiling and not being able to sleep. And you just, like, you know that, you know, you're thinking about what you've got on the next day. You know, you're thinking about, oh, I've got to be in work for this time, my alarm's going to go off in 5 hours, in 4 hours, in 3 hours, you know. And you're just getting more and more frustrated, and that obviously leads in to being less and less able to sleep and less able to cure this insomnia. So I was really frustrated, and it got to the point where I was, like, so tired at work. Like, I'm sure I probably shouldn't have been driving because I was so tired, right? I used to drive, like, haul my ass into work, and used to be so tired at work. It's before I started my personal training business, but I used to work in an office job and I was so exhausted. I was, like, answering the phone, like, doing the emails and doing all the stuff, and I was just like, how have I not been fired already? Because I'm like, my performance sucks because I'm so tired, because I'm not sleeping. And, you know, so it was affecting my work massively. It was affecting my training massively as well, because obviously you can imagine, how are you supposed to get effective, good training sessions in if you have no energy whatsoever? Like, if you're not sleeping, like, motivation's a big enough issue on its own, but you know, when you've got no energy and you're just tired and you're just having to rely on caffeine to pick you up, how are you supposed to have good training sessions? So my training sessions sucked. So I absolutely left loads and loads of muscle on the table because I just couldn't get the sleep I required to get the energy I needed to train. Does that make sense? So I was like in a world of hurt with this thing. And not only that, but like another thing about the insomnia, like, sleep is responsible for a massive part of muscle recovery and muscle growth, right? And I was getting like an average, like, maybe 3-4 hours a night sleep. Like, I was on my arse. And that meant that obviously my recovery from my training sessions, what you know, as effective as they were, which wasn't very, but my recovery from these training sessions and from just the day in general, every single night, absolutely sucked. So I was, like, getting sore off the littlest things in the gym, which wasn't a good sign. It was a bad sign because it meant that I wasn't recovering. So I wasn't able to recover my muscle or grow my muscle from anything I did in the gym. So it was a complete waste of time being in the gym in the first place because I just couldn't get the sleep in to recover. So you can imagine how frustrating that would be, right? And if you guys have been in the same boat, I want to tell you I get it, and I want to tell you the story of how I fixed that problem and how I sleep like a baby every single night right now, so I can grow my muscle mass every single time I go into the bedroom and go to sleep, basically. So that's kind of the backstory, that's where I came from. And what I wanted to do is I just wanted to sleep. I just wanted to improve my sleep. You know, at this point, I wasn't even that bothered about getting bigger. Like, obviously I wanted to get bigger, I wanted more muscle, but I didn't really make the connection between sleep and getting bigger. I just wanted to sleep, I just wanted more energy, I wanted to, you know, I wanted more motivation for life in general. I wanted to be able to go into the gym and not have really bad energy and not have to find the motivation to do every single rep of every single exercise. So I you know, and obviously I wanted more energy to focus at work. You know, I didn't necessarily like my job. I really didn't like my job at all, but I didn't want to get fired because it was my income source. You know, and I wanted to do a good job. You know, I'm the kind of person that kind of wants to do a good job, whatever he's doing. So I wanted to, you know, actually, you know, perform at work and perform in the gym and do all these things, but I just didn't have the energy. Everything was an effort. Have you guys ever felt like that? Like when everything's just an effort because you can't sleep? So that was where I was at, and that's what I wanted. And you know, I was just, on the inside, I was just like so tired all the time. I just wanted to go home. You know, when I was at gym, when I was at work, when I was out with my friends, whatever I was doing, I just wanted to go home. I wanted to go to bed. But when I got in bed, I wasn't able to sleep, and I was just so fed up of not being able to sleep properly. But on the outside, like I was, you know, you can't moan about these things, you can't complain about these things all the time, especially to your employer and things like that. So I was just pretending to be okay at work. I was pretending to be, you know, energized and all that kind of stuff as best I could. I wasn't very good at that sort of stuff, but as best I could, I was pretending I was all right. I was pretending I was motivated and happy and energized, and I kept showing up to the gym and doing my best and trying my best to increase my strength and my muscle. But there's only so much you can do when you're that deprived of sleep. You know what I mean? So that was where I was at, and I got to a point where I was just like so fed up of this happening. Like I was just like, I can't deal with this anymore. I have to change this. So I had to change it because I just couldn't take it anymore. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, if you've ever had insomnia, you'll know how that feels. When you just get to a point where you're just like, oh, I'm so exhausted. I just need to change this right now. I need to do whatever it takes to change this thing right now. Like the point of pain of being unable to sleep exceeded the pain of like changing, you know, because there's always a pain associated with changing, like however you know, whatever you've got to go through in order to change something, there's a pain associated with that. But the pain of not being able to sleep was way higher than that at this point. So I was like, whatever it takes, I'll just do it. I'll do it right now. I'll wear these weird glasses that I'm going to tell you about in a minute, right? Okay, so that was the point I was at, and I was like, I don't know what to do. So I ended up chatting to my chiropractor about it, because my chiropractor is, in fact, I'm going to see him tonight. I'm going to see him in about an hour. My chiropractor is probably the single person I know who knows the most about human biology, right, and the most about the human body and health and all that stuff in general. And I got chatting to him about it, and he was saying, he kind of made, ironically, a light bulb go off in my head, because he was saying the biggest factor that affects sleep is light. I was like, what do you mean light? Like, it's not food, it's not all these other things, right? I was like, no, it's like, no, it's light. And he said, basically, there's two different kinds of light. There's a whole spectrum of light, but for the purposes of this episode and for what's important with sleep, there's two different kinds of light. And most of us get exposure to the wrong kind of light, right? And I didn't really see how this linked up. I was like, what are you talking about? And he was like, basically, there's blue light and there's red light, okay? These are the two different types of light. And blue light, if you haven't ever heard of blue light, that's just, all that means is it's kind of like the midday sun, okay? It kind of mimics like the same light spectrum you will get from the sun when it's at midday, like the highest point in the sky. That's what we call blue light, okay? And blue light kind of excites your nervous system and excites the areas of your brain that receive these signals through your eyes, because that's like an extension of your nervous system. They receive these signals of blue light, and it tells your brain to wake up because it's midday, right? And blue light is emitted from things like phones, things like laptops, things like tablets, iPads, things like overhead lighting. All these different things are emitted by, emit blue light. So that's the first kind of light, and he was like, this is the kind of light that most of us are exposing ourselves to, not only in the hours when we're leading up to bed, but actually when we're in bed. We're actually exposing ourselves to like the midday sun when we're in bed, right? How many of you guys right now, maybe you're in bed right now watching this on your phone, right? Maybe you're watching this on your phone, or if you're not watching this on your phone in bed right now, maybe sometimes that you will like scroll through social media on your phone before you go to sleep. Like you'll spend like an hour scrolling through social media or watching YouTube videos or whatever you're doing, right? How many of us do that? I used to do that all the time. I used to go on my laptop or on my phone or watch TV or something with blue light glaring into my eyes that was telling my brain that the midday sun is high in the sky and I need to get up and do something about it, right? And I need to get up and run and you know, do whatever it is that I do. My brain was telling me to get up and go. And so that was like a wow, like I say, ironically, a light bulb that went off in my head. And he said, but there's another kind of light, there's a red light, okay? Now a red light is it's kind of like the same light spectrum as we get at sunset, right? So when the sun's going down, like it's obviously dark outside here now, but when the sun's going down and the sun and you kind of watch the sunset, it's a different kind of light, right? You know what I mean? Like the same light. It's not the same light as you get in the midday sun. That's really bright, and then it's kind of like a red haze at sunset. Do you guys get that? So that same light spectrum, that's called red light, or sometimes like near infrared light or infrared light, right? So that's the kind of light that naturally, when we see it and it goes into our eyes and goes into our brains and our nervous systems, it makes us want to relax. It makes us want to go to fall asleep, because naturally that's when we've always fallen asleep. You know, when we didn't have houses and we were just like, you know, hunter-gatherers and lived in tribes and stuff like that. That's when we went to sleep when the sun went down, right? Because we didn't have any concept of time. We just sort of, you know, woke up when the sun rose, and after the sun went down, you know, maybe we'd have like a bonfire with like tribes people around it, but that's again infrared light. But you know, we would go to sleep after the sun went down. So if you can expose yourself to red light and not blue light in the evenings, you will sleep like a baby. And I was like, what? I was like, I didn't believe it at first. I was like, no way. But I thought, you know what? I trust this guy. He's helped me a lot with my injuries and stuff like that. So I'm gonna put some plans into action. I'm gonna see if I can actually make this thing work. So I decided to eliminate blue light as much as possible. I was like, I'm just gonna go with this blue light thing at first, right? I'm gonna eliminate blue light as much as possible before I go to bed, in like the 2 to 3 hour window before I go to bed, and see if that makes a difference. See if I can fall asleep easier. So what I did was I did that exact thing. I stopped working, I put my laptop away, I got rid of my phone, I got rid of my tablets as much as possible. I couldn't really get rid of the overhead lights, obviously, but you know, I did as best I can. And I stopped watching TV. I stopped watching TV for months on end before bed, which was obviously like a big sacrifice, because we all watch TV before bed, right? Or we all go on our phones before bed, or we all do something with electronic devices before bed. And that was a massive sacrifice for me, and it did help. It helped massively. I started being able to finally fall asleep. You know, I was sleeping better. I wasn't sleeping perfectly, but I was sleeping a lot better, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. But after a while, it was like, Western life involves a certain amount of electronic devices. There's no getting away from it, right? I live in the UK, some of you guys might live in the USA, some of you guys might live in Australia, wherever you are in like one of these developed countries. We, in our culture, we sit down in front of the TV at night with our loved ones, right? Or we increasingly now are going to be on our phones on social media, or on our phones looking at stuff, or we're going to be working late into the night, like obviously I am tonight, because I'm doing a podcast for you guys tonight at 7:20 in the evening. And you know, there's all these different things that sort of come into play, and it was like this thing. Maybe it's not going to be sustainable, you know, because I'm sacrificing time with my family and my loved ones and all these things. I'm sacrificing being able to keep up to date with things on an evening. So I thought maybe there's got to be a better way to be able to keep getting sleep and keep sleeping really well, but not have to sacrifice all this time that I'm sacrificing in an evening. So I started looking things up, and I was like, what can I actually do? What can I actually learn about that will help me to avoid this blue light in my eyes, but you know, not actually disrupt my sleep? And I came across something pretty quickly that was getting really good traction, and it's got even bigger since then, and it was called blue light blocking glasses. And that's what these yellow, orangey, reddy things are on my face right now. These things block like 95 to 99% of all the blue light that's being emitted from the devices, from the laptops, they've got a little light here that's lighting my face up right now. You'll see it in the reflection of my glasses there, right? It's blocking that blue light. The overhead lights from above that I've got up here, all the blue lights, the TV, the iPads, everything, it's been all blocked and prevented from entering my eyes by these blue light blocking glasses, right? Now, it's not something that I wear out in public because people will think I'm an absolute freak, right? But I'm wearing them on this episode particular to show you guys how important and how seriously I take this protocol, because it allows me not only to improve my sleep and be able to fall asleep properly at night, but it allows me to still partake in these activities that we all do in Western culture, like going on our phones and going on our laptops and going on our TV screens and having overlaid lights that aren't costing thousands of pounds, right? So that's the kind of where I got to. And I invested in some of these. They were a bit cheaper ones than the first ones I bought. I bought them for like £10, right? So it was really cheap. These ones are a bit more expensive because they're really good quality. But you know, if you invest in some like really inexpensive ones, you can get started and you'll notice the difference straight away. So I was able to get more sleep, and I was able to still use my devices late into the evening. And what else I did as well was I took that other part that my chiropractor was talking about, called red light, which is like, if you remember, it mimics the sunset, mimics like the time where the sun goes down, which makes us naturally feel sleepy. And there's a whole range of like companies that do red light therapy as well, where you can buy your own like lights that emit red light or near infrared light and stuff like that. And so I started to start learning about that, and I started doing that, and that helped me fall asleep even faster, and it was like deeper sleep and all that kind of stuff. And you know, the same spectrum of light also mimics sunrise, so you can wake up to them. It's a nicer way to wake up. And there was just so simple little adjustments that helped me overcome my insomnia, have way more energy in the gym. So, you know, I was able to like cure all these motivational issues that I thought I had in the gym, but it wasn't motivational issues, it was just my energy sucked. So I was able to overcome the motivational issues, had more energy, my strength like skyrocketed. I was like, oh my God, I'm loving this. And, you know, I felt better at work, I felt better in everyday life, and things just improved. Things are just better when you sleep, you know? And not only that, but you know, I mentioned at the start, my recovery sucked from workouts, so I couldn't actually build any muscle when I was not sleeping. Well, but when I started sleeping, I started all of a sudden, like randomly, I was like, what's going on here? Like, I started to see my muscle mass increase. I started to see the areas of my muscle I was struggling to build actually start growing, right? So alongside my strength going up and my moods going up and my energy going up, my muscle mass actually started to go up. I was like, this is just such a major key, and I can't believe more people don't talk about how to get better sleep, because it's so important. And you know, that's where I went through. I went from not being able to sleep and having all this insomnia to actually being able to sleep, growing muscle, growing strength, having more energy and just more zest for life and more motivation to get up and go. And that's what I want for you guys as well. So I hope you've taken something from this episode. I hope you've understood how important sleep is, because it is so important. And yeah, I just can't stress enough how important sleep is. So I hope that made sense. I hope you enjoyed that. If you enjoyed this kind of content, if you enjoy me giving some little cool stories and some tidbits about the things that you can do to increase your muscle mass right now, then don't forget to subscribe to this channel on YouTube, or follow this podcast on iTunes or Spotify. If you're on iTunes or Spotify, drop me a review. If you're on YouTube, drop me a like and a comment and let me know what you think in the box below there. And other than that, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I will see you next time on the Muscle Building Mastery podcast.